What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, the number one podcast in flooring. We're here every week to help you guys gain forward progress in your career. Simply put, we're here to help you win. For all our new viewers, welcome to the team. I would love to introduce everybody. We're going to start with James. James was CRM Solutions Manager over at Measure Square, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's my title. I work mostly with our new product, Measure Square CRM. But I come from the industry. My dad's a plumber. I was a plumber for 8 years. So then I moved over to flooring, did estimating, project management switched over to project management for a few years. And then I ended up here at Measure Square a couple years back. So I think I can relate to your
You
side of
made
the table quite a bit.
full circle.
Yeah,
Yeah,
full circle. But now on the tech side. So happy to be here. Thank you, guys.
awesome. Well,
So
as
nobody can
always,
hear me
Mr.
now.
Daniels here. Jose
We can hear you now.
is on, but
He's
having some
there.
video issues. So we'll see if we can get Jose back on. But Mr. Daniels with us today, as always. And today's topic, the reason I wanted James to introduce himself ahead of time is technology and the trade. So he just told you he's kind of made it full circle. The second part of that topic is real or industry hype. I think what we're trying to get kind of across here, it's not whether or not technology is real or industry hype, just kind of the pros and cons about it all. Um, there's awesome things about technology, and we probably all have our little stories about difficulties with technology. Uh,
Especially if you're on the development side of that technology, right?
that is right. So James and I share a path of being an installer, and then moving into the tech side with TradeTap and the what used to be Go Carrera on our side, and building out technology for the the professional services world. And I'm sure he shares the difficulty in making a program do something that people really want to use, and then making it actually usable. So those are some of the things that we have found. One of the just to kind of kick it off, technology is awesome, and Daniel is probably one of the best guys I know in our trade at adopting new technology. He is my right hand when we're at any convention, anything, because not only does he understand how to use software and things of this nature, he's also very techy from a gadget perspective, which I am not. I understand software, but you start getting into IT and putting the stuff together and wiring networks together, I'm lost. This guy kind of has a better purview of that. But with all of that said, the biggest problem or the biggest concern that I've found in building out TradeTap over the last 6 years, 7 years, is you build something that seems so intuitive, put it out to your user network or your users, and they have a hard time using the software. Uh, that is not only my experience, it's also my experience on the user side with other softwares. So, usability of technology is where I'd love to kick it off. And how does Measure Square think about that? And do you guys think about that? And if you do, kind of from what angle do you guys look at it?
Man, great question. I'm really fortunate to join the Measure Square team a few years ago here. We have some of the best developers. It's unbelievable. So the people who've used Measure Square for takeoffs for a long time probably know what I'm talking about. That's a really great piece of software, Measure Square 8 and Measure Square Mobile. But I mean, usability is almost our primary focus. And that's going to be the case for a lot of software companies. But in construction in particular, you have a wide range of ages, you have a wide range of tech savviness, right? So definitely a tough crowd to meet at all fronts. So I think you win some and you lose some with each customer type. Usually is how it ends up working, and the game is trying to determine which wins will apply to the biggest part of your user base.
Yeah, usability and user uh, ease of use, I guess, has to be the primary focus. Um, how do you go about building that roadmap, though? Like
Oh,
more
absolutely.
specifically, we will have a focus group and talk about a certain feature or something to the application. We think it's great. We think the idea is great. We go into building some level of an MVP or something, do a little bit of testing, send it out to network,
Yes.
and we have had it fall flat, bring it back, revamp some things. You know, how do you
Yeah.
guys go
Yeah.
about that as a more mature team?
Wow, yeah, this is a great question and kind of a good insight into the workings of Measure Square. So it's definitely a mix. We have about 50 developers on the team. So our head architects do a fair amount of planning where they will theorize some of the features and kind of present them to us on the front end where we'll validate with customers. So they do contribute on their side aside from just the customer requests. But the vast majority of features are added because customers either directly request them or customers are trying to solve a problem related to that. So we take feature requests constantly, right? I'm sure, yeah, better than anyone. But we have thousands of feature requests, and prioritizing them is really important, not only for us, but for the users as well. Possibly more important, because I actually spoke about this with Dan a couple months back, because Dan's one of our best users in providing feedback and prioritizing it. But if you need 20 things from a system, and you asked your software company for all 20 of them, there's a pretty low chance they're going to implement all 20 of those, right? But if you give them 3 or 4 and say, hey, these are the ones we really need to operate, makes it a lot easier for us on the software side to prioritize those. So I would say it's a mix between A, customer requests, B, our architects feeding into the customers, and then we have a little C element here, who's our CEO and founder, Steven. So he is a developer by trade. He has a doctorate in software engineering. So he actually kind of directs our long-term vision and our long-term pursuits, by kind of staying ahead of the industry, and he works with our emerging products. So whereas Measure Square 8 and Measure Square Mobile are heavily established throughout the industry, we have some newer products in Measure Square CRM and Measure Square Stone that are still working their way up. So Steven is kind of leading the charge on that side, looking at new tech in the general construction industry, because they're usually a little ahead of us in flooring. They have the bigger companies like Procore and Autodesk who are really dedicating a lot of resources to those problems. So we kind of look to those guys in some scenarios, determine what we could pick out, and then Steven just kind of is looking even ahead of that.
Did I hear? Did you state? Do you have a beta group that you use as well? Like you'll release some feature to a beta group to test out for you, that kind of thing?
Yeah, and we do have a beta group, and the beta is kind of almost public, right? If we're releasing something to beta, it's one step from being public, and the majority of the work actually happens in kind of an alpha or prototype phase, before that, where we really need the customers to validate the concepts. So in this active development of the CRM with dozens of developers working on it, we'll bring a customer in even when we just have a prototype. Sometimes we'll say, hey, try this for a week, or what do you think of this? But the beta program we do have. I would say the people on the beta list may be disappointed with how often they get beta releases, because when I was a user, that's what I was thinking. So I think it's more of like the prototype, kind of personal level at this stage.
Well, I wanted to bring all that up just to kind of, display to the audience the not only the complications of releasing stuff in technology, but also the extreme amount of effort that has to go into that part just to get sometimes what seems to be just a small feature for a user. Hey, can I click this and go there instead of having to click through? Can be uh, maybe not a major deal, but it's a bigger deal than usually you would expect for even some of the
Oh
smaller
yeah.
changes. So the amount of work that goes in to try to make sure that the software comes out in a usable, productive format takes a lot of time and effort and energy. So, um, Daniel, you
Yeah,
guys
certain.
have worked with Measure Square for a long time. We've had Measure Square at my flooring company for 10, 15 years probably. Um, but you guys use it differently than we use it, which is another kind of juggling thing for a software company is users use things differently and not always the way you
Right.
envisioned it.
And depending on who's using it, where does that handoff to another software take place? I think is the big question with everyone right now, right? Because you can use it 100% of everything, or you're only using it for certain things and then you're handing it off. And where is that break point at? And how do you do that cleanly?
Yeah.
That's exactly the problem as we see it too, Dan. Yeah, and that's really what we're doing with Measure Square CRM. We're actually changing the name in the near future to support that concept more. But I think in 2026, yeah, people are looking to connect that whole workflow, and a lot of people try to do that in one system. You can do that with Measure Square, absolutely, but there are other options, right? The API connecting systems seems to be very underrated in the construction industry, from my perspective. If you build a good API integration, it can be as seamless as having it in one platform, really. So we have, we're going with the integration strategy. We have an open API. We have an MCP connector, so you could connect your AI. So we're just trying to give everybody this nice foundational spine where you can store all your project data, and then you can run with that through our whole system. You can attach that to other systems, and I think the open integration policy is probably going to be more and more beneficial as time moves on with these AI models, because if you give them access to your data, they can do pretty much anything.
Yeah, these agents are crazy. And then not only the API, it's MPC servers and stuff now where it's like it's not just talking back and forth, it's actually controlling everything.
Yeah, and those
Yeah,
APIs
that's
that I think one of the difficult things in construction is some of the older legacy software to integrate, they didn't build it in a modern stack or a modern way and didn't upgrade throughout the years and preparing for what is here today. Um, we found it very difficult to integrate with some of the legacy softwares and their development teams being willing to support an API integration um, due to having to build an API out or your open source, you said?
open API.
Yeah, open, sorry, not open source, but an open
Yep,
API.
yeah, yep.
Yeah, well, that makes things a heck of a lot easier. And, but that's one of the hardest things about I think it's not just where it hands off. It's there's a lot of older legacy software. We use one at my flooring company that they're finally getting ready to do a pretty massive upgrade, which is going to be nice. It'll bring it more into today's kind of modern technology and allow us to tie some more things together over there. But the bottom line is it's not hype. All these things, what I wanted to get to is all this work that we've talked about ends up in what type of benefit to you, Daniel, because you guys did, and I'll share our um, um, experience as well. But you guys did manual takeoffs in the early days too, right? You had a ruler and
Yeah,
a
this
blueprint and a
this guy
notebook.
over here was one of those guys that's like, I don't trust software. And it's like,
Yep.
man, it's like
It's just so I just interrupt. I don't know if you guys can hear me well or
Yep,
not,
we
because I
hear
had
you loud and clear.
some issues. But it was one of the things where, and I knew how to do it on paper. I knew that if there was a mistake, that it was from me, and it was the trust factor, trust in technology to do what I already knew how to do, and not really knowing how to navigate through it. That's the hard part, and that's where trying to keep that open mind and trying to understand that it's not going away, and listening to Daniel and everyone else who's embracing technology, and just coming to the realization that my way was going to be outdated very quickly. Um, and yes, I did grow up on that graph paper, rulers, even the little the the automatic one, right? With the that you with the little wheel on it that gives you the dimensions and you set the scale.
Yeah.
Even though that was not accurate, right? I just used that one for quick square footage if needed on some takeoffs. But I
Did you
sat at a
guys
drafting
ever
table
go?
and wasted all that space.
Did you guys go through the slight time frame with the digitizer, where you taped your drawing onto a board and you had a little uh, it was like a mouse. You would click on all the corners. Of course, it didn't draw it like it does
Oh no,
on screen stuff, but we even tried that. So, but you're
that would have
breaking
been
up
it would
just
have
a
been
little
helpful
bit.
for some.
You're breaking up just a little bit. So I'm sorry to the audience if I
There.
interrupt Jose's train of thought. But the bottom line is these things kind of build on themselves. And right now, what's really fascinating to me is how fast the things are changing and building. And like our team has to stay on top of things. It's mind blowing how quickly the technology and the capabilities, particularly with the AI, is changing. And so I wanted to get to my next question for you guys, James. What type of how are you guys approaching AI? How did that come to be? Were you early adopters? Did Steven see the trend coming? I mean, to the consumer, AI is kind of like a 2 to 3 year deal, but it really got developed 15, 20 years ago. It was started, but it caught that, hockey wave, kind of hockey stick growth of adoption when somebody came out with a one usable product, and the rest is history. How did you guys approach the AI revolution?
Yeah, great question. Awesome question, honestly. And definitely a few different ways. There are people in my company who say we've been using little AI models for 15, 20 years, right? But uh, our earliest introduction to AI was with the auto takeoff. So we've been building that for about 6-ish years now. And that tool has seen significant enhancements in that time, in the past couple of years, especially. So that was really where we were kind of a little bit ahead of the curve. Now, with the introduction of these insane large language models the past few years, everyone is creating all kinds of tools, and we're very focused on that. So I mentioned the MCP connector. So we're able to connect your large language model to the Measure Square Cloud and to the CRM. So it can read data, it can perform actions for you, which is really powerful. We have a AI plan analyzer, which will read through your plans and pull out the materials, create the materials for you in Measure Square, and that kind of stuff. We're working on AI agents. So we have a lot of different solutions going, but it was, Stephen is kind of directing that side of it. We have a whole team of developers dedicated just to the AI. Um, yeah, I don't want to say how many of them, but it's getting bigger and bigger. And
Yeah.
essentially, that's the branch of the product side that can apply everywhere, right? So all of our products can benefit from AI, and sometimes you can have one solution blanketing over all those products. So really, attacking it from all angles and trying to find a useful application is really the challenge. There's so many ways to use this thing, and we're all so new to it. Even the most advanced companies, I think are experiencing some lag there, but it's not only coming up with a good solution, it's implementing it in a way that makes sense for you, makes sense for the user. So that's the challenge, and we're full steam ahead on that side.
I think when you look at software too, right, it's harder for you guys because sometimes you have to come up with something that people might not even know they want yet. Like you got an idea and it's like, this is going to be great. And then you put it out there. And I mean, you look at the big guys, Apple, for instance, right? Just their Apple Watch, the walkie-talkie app on the Apple Watch. They're saying that is probably going to be discontinued. They thought it was going to be this huge thing. And not going to lie, I was messing with people for a while when it first came out. And then you just stop using it. And when you don't see that usage anymore, it's like, what's the point to keep on having your resources to focus on, keeping that clean in there when you can just get rid of it and focus on something else.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I was gonna say, and then you get the people that are mad because they're like, I use this every day, but it's like, well, you're one of the only people that uses it every day.
That's the hardest thing, honestly, is that you'll build something that some users love and think is the cat's meow, but it just never got market adoption in a way that makes even like you said, the big guys like Apple, let alone somebody like, I mean, certainly Measure Square is much larger than TradeTap, but you go to Measure Square from Apple is a pretty big jump. And even you guys, I would assume, have to judge those things. And even at our tiny size as a technology company, uh, there's some parts. I'll give you an example. Link, our video software that like would connect the field to the office and allow video calls to happen in real time, and it would log it to a work order, for example, so that you never lost that piece of that interaction, that communication. Dude, some people loved it, but it got used so little we had to discontinue the use. It wasn't cheap. It wasn't cheap to have that, and one of those things you had to make a difficult decision on. So, what's that? How do you guys have? Surely you've come across that kind of thing before, James. What's that look like for Measure Square, or something that, like Daniel said, some people loved? It was the Apple Watch walkie-talkie,
Walkie-talkie.
yeah, kind of
Which,
thing.
yeah, my brother says they need to come back out with Nextels, but actually, it's in Teams they have a walkie-talkie feature that we never use, but it got rolled out after we started using it. And he does mention that it's ease of use for non-tech savvy people is one of the hard parts.
That's it, and it's ease of use and even just positioning, and I have a good example of that on our side. So I mentioned our AI analyzer tool, and this tool reads your plans, right? It tells you which pages you need for the takeoff, and it makes your products for you. It just saves you a bunch of time. We initially created this in our CRM, and we got near zero adoption on that side for a few months. And then someone on my team, smarter than I am, suggested that we put it into Measure Square 8 in the takeoff, and it took off. So yeah, it's, even if a tool is usable, if you don't present it the right way, it's not gonna catch on, and nobody's gonna really benefit from it. So there's more to it than just building something good, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of
And
another one
timing.
that's having
Timing.
Oh, absolutely.
It could even be the right product in the right spot and not the right time. And it's amazing how all those things have to come together for software to actually get adopted. It's got to be like, timing's one of the big ones. And I don't know if some of the smartest guys in software know how to figure that out. Others, we just put it out there and either wait for the timing to be right, or you keep trying if it's a good enough idea.
Yeah. That's really it. Yeah, and adoption. I'm glad you mentioned adoption. I don't know if you plan on talking about that later. That's a good one to talk about too.
Right. I wanted to get into
But
this right here because Romero asked
absolutely.
if, these softwares are too much for residential. And I think that there probably is certain tiers that are too much, but that's why there's kind of tiers to everything, right? You don't need to use 100% of a commercial software, so there's probably tiers to things. And I mean, I don't know because I don't do much residential, but I know on the Measure Square side, you guys have a ton of people that do residential, right? And then on the Trade Tap side, it's really good for residential, especially if you're not super huge, because you can do all your billing and everything right from it too. So
Yeah, I think it's not a residential commercial question. It's how do you like to work? Um, you could do this, say 5 houses a month or 4 houses a month or a low number of houses a month, whatever that would be. I'm primarily commercial as well in my flooring company, um, but if you took advantage of all the tools and you're a one-man show and that's how you like to work, so it would be extremely beneficial in someone in that case. So I think it has to do more with how do you like to work, and then how does that software fit within your human workflow. And I think residential commercial, it is not the line that you're crossing. It's how do you like to work, and maybe how big are your projects, or because obviously the larger, more complicated projects, the more time you save with an AI analyzer, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So with the AI tools for analyzing plans in particular, that'll depend. Yeah, if you're doing new construction residential, absolutely. If you have a set of plans, this stuff will help you. And I understand the hesitation, Romero, because there's a lot of times that you get into a software and you're like, oh, this isn't for me. But no, so Measure Square, we built this for flooring. I don't know if you're referring to our software in particular, but we have essentially profiles. We have the retail profile, the commercial profile to kind of set up your account for the residential workflow. So yeah, we definitely accommodate that. We have you guys in mind, and we actually have a full on-site workflow where you can open up your phone and you create a quote and get it signed and everything on the CRM mobile app. It takes like 30 seconds to make a quote with 3 or 4 products. So yeah, absolutely. That's one of our primary focuses. And yeah, I definitely agree with Paul. We're not really staring at one industry versus another usually, but it's more of which features can help both, and then there are certain times you have to veer towards one way or another to kind of to jam in those really, really beneficial features on each segment.
he said, how does it compare to House Pro? And I don't even have any experience with that at all. So I don't know if you guys do it.
I have a little. If you're talking about trade tap, and I'm not like a house pro, so I don't know it enough to talk in depth about it. But I would tell you that one of the things that trade tap really focused on is bringing opportunities to in the installer from either the marketplace or from stores and shops that are looking for quality installers, but also need to be able to see that guy's quality, right? And so finding guys, as we've always said, Daniel, it's not always being found or finding guys. It's being quality and finding quality guys, like finding the level of the installer that you need. So not sure how House Pro fits in there, but that's kind of how Trade Tap looks at the connections and where we're trying to connect the industry, homeowners as well as business owners like flooring companies, and connect them to a network of cataloged and credentialized installers. From Measure Square standpoint, I'm not real sure what House Pro does in the measuring CRM world, but maybe James can speak to that.
Yeah. So House Pro Romero is it's a similar function to our CRM. It's supposed to be an all-in-one software. The difference there would be House Pro is a general construction solution. So ours is made specifically for flooring. So if you do a takeoff, that flies right into your CRM. You have all your products, your product catalogs in your CRM and stuff like that. If you have to make an edit to a quote, you can just edit your takeoff and click OK, and it'll edit your quote for you. So a lot of advantages to using a system that's built specifically for you over one that's more general, kind of built for everyone.
Yeah, and then my brother does point out that, he's doing voice to text, so his next comment was what he changed this weather to the weather that it's supposed to be. But whether it's residential or commercial, you want a program that's rated for more than what you actually need it for. And I think yes and no, right? Because you don't want to overbuy and then never use a bunch of stuff, but you also
Well, ideally, you want a system that has some starter spot and can grow with you, or you can grow with it. One of the two.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and a lot of those times, those softwares that are too big, they take more to get through to do things right. And I'm experiencing this. We use Zoho CRM internally at Measure Square, and a couple of the systems that we have in there are so bulky, right? Very, very convoluted, and it takes a lot of clicks to do things. So, the residential, there are some solutions where we're having a much simpler interface, a much simpler app to use is just better. And I think residential, that ends up being the case for some people. Definitely depends how you operate, like Paul was saying.
Well, that's a good point too, James, because Zoho is we use HubSpot now. We started with Zoho. I'll tell you what, you can overbuild some software, and no offense to the Zoho guys, they're doing just fine. But I'm telling you that software grew like mushrooms on mushrooms in a forest of mushrooms, and you really got to know where you're going, and even and that is something, at least on our side, and I'm sure we try to avoid this thing of stacking things that make getting to something too deep for the user.
Yes.
I hope I'm making sense. But what I'm saying is, I see James shaking his head because he knows exactly what I'm talking about. But you build things and something ends up almost hidden that was never intended to be hidden. And some of these bigger softwares, that's where some of us little guys can come in and really fill a niche, is that the big guys have overbuilt for other big guys in a lot of cases. They listened to their user base and they kept asking for more things and they kept building more things. But it's something we try to avoid at TradeTap, and why we created kind of a single sign-on solution for multiple different softwares. But yeah, that's a real thing, right? Like Zoho's a good example of that. I know from experience.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and that's a big concern. Like like we spoke about before, especially in construction. And yeah, it's more important than making good functions, making them usable. Definitely. And I see that in a lot of systems. We use a lot of competing systems and in our systems occasionally, right? But usually we'll try to hop on that and make it as easy as possible. But you have a lot of problems to solve, right? And yeah, like you said, it's those dang big guys. My biggest customers need the world in the software, and a lot of sometimes we have to try to give it to them.
Yeah, I I've talked to some of the other flooring specific people, right? And a lot of them are really geared towards bigger residential dealers. And it's like, you guys are trying to sell me something, again, going back to what my brother said, you're trying to sell me something that I don't need. And I think only one of them finally came up came back with, you know what, you're right. I don't think this is a right fit for you. Everyone else was just like, you know what, you'll get there. Just we'll get a hold of you in a few months again.
Keep at it.
I like the when I'm trying to sell is the people are just like, yeah, this is not for me. And that's how I like to respond to software people. I'm like, it's not a good fit because of these reasons, and then move on. But that's just a side note.
Oh, that transparency is critical. It's critical. If a salesperson approaches you and they're super salesy and you're just looking for something to make your business a little better, I've been in that seat. Software is not at the top of your list if you own a flooring company, right? I have a lot of meetings where people end up being too busy to show up, or an emergency bid, or that's just kind of the reality of it. So it takes time, A, to identify problems, B, to research, and then obviously implementation is its own animal.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. Like, it's pretty easy to get offended if you don't have thick skin in software, because while the solution, I mean, you could sit somebody down and explain the benefits, and they could, without pressure, they could tell you, yeah, Measure Square help. I mean, I don't know how I'd live without it, you know. But then if you have a meeting with them and they have something in the real world that's important to them, you're going on the back burner really, really fast, and maybe for months if it's a big enough problem they're dealing with. And we've experienced that, and had people disappear for a while and come back. That timing thing is a real thing, and it's hard to get right. The timing of, from a marketplace standpoint and from an individual customer standpoint, the timing for them has to be right, which is why it's so off-putting if someone's trying to talk you into something. It's not that you don't need it, it's that the timing isn't right. That's what
And
I've found.
and as a consumer, we just look at things like, hey, this is what I need. It should be easy enough to just add this right here. But they don't see all the coding and everything behind the software, where it's like, all right, I can add that right there. But like you were saying earlier too, right? Oh, I added this. Now this don't work. Now this ain't working. What is going on? It's not just that simple. And I only know because I was working on trying to build like a little check-in, check-out system for our tools.
Yeah. Well, even the best thought out plan can, one thing that stuck with me is, a guy told me one time, he says, you know how to make $1 million in software? And I was like, how's that? He says, spend 5 million.
That'll do it.
Point being is, you have to persevere through that timing. And for all the users out there, because most of you guys don't like build software, for you guys, a lot of times the hurdles for you is fear, though. And that's kind of one of the things I wanted to bring up in all of this, because of our demographic being so wide. I mean, there are people who are in retirement age still out there trying to utilize some of this software in their day-to-day stuff. And then there's guys that are coming into the industry brand new. Uh, the I always say thank you to Facebook for getting some of the older generation used to touching screens and getting results. But at the end of the day, it usually boils down to fear of, this thing's going to break when I need it, or it's going to, one of the big things, I mean, when we first got in, was like, I don't want to give my data, any information to this for it to do. Well, I'm like, well, you got to have a profile, you got to have like a user to use it. And it's the fear of Big Brother, it's the fear of technology, it's the fear of doing something different, all those things. And the only way you you get over it, my advice to another user is to just do the thing. Just if you have enough other people that are doing it, and you know some people that are using that software or using that technology, uh, put your faith in them, or your trust in them, and just give it a shot. Um, because fear is a real thing in the software side of things. I don't know that there's a perfect solution, but it certainly, um, you know,
Right.
certainly is the
Yeah, like
thing.
Romero says that he's gone through 4 different softwares in 6 years, and he definitely knows what you're talking about timing. And a lot of that could be because you're like, yeah, I have this idea, let's start using this, and then you purchase it, and then you don't use anything, and then it's like, why did I even pay for that? And then you go to try to use it, and then you get frustrated because you don't know how to use it, and then it's like, I totally get that too. But I mean, technology is one of those things, man, where like you were even saying, I don't want to feed it any information, right? I don't want it to have my information. And now we're at a point where we're like, I need to feed this all of my information so that it can make decisions for me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It kind of goes back to Jose's. Jose was saying he distrusted software. You were saying he did. We're kind of seeing like a new wave of that with AI now, right? People just got used to computers. We're just starting to like computers. Now AI comes along, and now we have this new element of distrust, where some people think it's the solution to everything. Other people think it's really risky to even use for most things. So yeah, some kind of middle ground is probably where we all end up. But tough to say. I lean on the let's feed it everything side personally. So I'm glad to have people in my company that can keep some of us in check on that side.
Well,
Yeah, the whole LLM and all the competing models, and then the on almost an on-premise AI, through, well, there's multiples now, but the thing that's so fascinating is, since the first of the year, though, this thing can live on a local device, a local unit, and do real work for you now, like Claude. And in particular, I think they're at least winning that game so far. But it can do real stuff. It could be a full assistant for you if you train a little bit. I talk about AI a lot because we're building AI agents here for Stewart and Associates, for my flooring company, to handle everything from submittals to ordering, contract reading, the blueprints, and the takeoffs. We're gonna use, we leverage existing technology. No reason to build that. But after that, it's like, I don't want to do submittals. I've already, we have an agent now that does our closeouts. All we do is send it the specifications, and send it the literally, this is live. Send it the specifications, and send it our material list that we from our accounting software, and it creates our entire closeout package with warranties, our warranty letter, complete, done 100% in 30 seconds, a complete closeout package. So, I'm the guy that wants to try everything pretty early. I like to get in there and just do it. And then if something breaks, or if I break something, or if I spend a little money that I, maybe spent unwisely on that thing, I can cut the cord. I don't have to continue. But giving stuff a shot is probably why at 50 I'm still pretty in tune to all of this stuff, because I want to be in tune to it. I want to try it. I want to see what it can do. And I also don't look at new stuff as the devil. We've done this generation after generation after generation. Ozzy Osbourne was the devil, and rock music was the devil, and then other music genres took that over, and then the computer was the devil. And like, we demonize all these things. When they're there, there's always a pro and con to new software, but also more fundamentally new technology. And find your guardrails and drive the highway, man. Just once you know your guardrails and what you don't want to hit, get after it.
Yeah, so we do have a question from Jimmy right here. He says, Measure Square, what's the learning curve? He has a store that has an account and is offering for him to use it because they have it and never used it, which is crazy because, again, you're paying for something that you're not using. So I guess it depends on what Measure Square. And dude, your guys' like YouTube library is crazy.
Yeah. So, good question, Jimmy. I think you're probably referring to Measure Square Mobile, where you can go on site and like basically create a takeoff from a house. The learning curve on that is very quick. I mean, really, all of our software is pretty quick, but Measure Square Mobile in particular, we have in-office trainings, and a lot of the time people will come in for one day in office, and that's all they need. We have an online course that's, I think, 2 hours that kind of gets you where you need to go. Of course, it takes a little bit to become a master, but you can get a job done after your first training
Yeah,
session.
and we use the iPad version too, right? I went and measured an adult daycare the other day. The entire building, it took me probably, I think I was there for 30 minutes. And then I went and measured a house the other day. I measured the entire house except for the 2 bedrooms, and I was in and out of there in 20 minutes, and that was only because they talked to me for an additional 10.
Yeah. When I was in the field, I did all commercial, but we did a lot of work for a hospital, and a lot of the times these old hospitals, you can't find the plans. Yeah. So I would just, I would go in and just, okay, this suite, just measure it up with the laser quick, or this hallway, measure a whole batch of rooms there. But yeah, anytime you don't have a plan set, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I would probably add to that, Jimmy, that to get proficient, or where the software is usable, Measure Square is a day would be there. I think a day is a pretty good deal. Now, to become really, really good at it and everything, obviously that takes more time, but to get to that first rung where it's a usable piece, it's got a pretty low learning curve.
And
I'd encourage you to
we've been using it for years, and
it.
I'll jump on YouTube and I'll just be watching videos sometimes and be like, man, I didn't even know it could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jose threw in a little bit too. He said there is a learning curve, but for him, that's some of the scared of technology thing.
No, I was going to say I popped it up on the screen for you so you didn't have to look at it all small.
Oh yeah, there you go. No, perfect. But yeah, Jimmy, we have free trials. Measure Score is not one of those companies that locks it up. So if you could take your buddy's license there from the other store, or just go online and and grab a free trial yourself. Definitely feel free to reach out. You could send an email to support@measuresquare.com if you want any guidance from our side.
Romero asked a question that I was just about to get into, right? Because is it LiDAR? And if you have the newer iPhones, you guys do have the room scanner app that you can just go through. I did it at my friend's house the other day. I was like, oh man, I forgot my iPad. I knew that they wanted me to measure their porch, so I just went and scanned it real quick. And he said, bro, you got that new technology stuff. Like,
yeah, that is a cool one. If you're in residential and you haven't taken a look at that LiDAR app, the room scanner, I definitely would take a look. It's only for Apple. Yep, that's it. We use the Apple's LiDAR technology, as a lot of the companies are doing, and it's getting better and better. The reports that we've heard is it's accurate to a laser within 2%. Is the average, so it's dead accurate. It's really cool, and it even picks up like a couch or a fridge. Oh, it draws a
TVs,
fridge.
windows,
Where did this come from?
doors.
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing is it's not an Android, and so I keep thinking that surely somebody's got to get it over there or develop something similar, but nothing that I know of has come out that's comparable.
Yeah, I think it's a hardware issue, honestly. The Apple has it built into but I'm not sure. That's a little past my expertise.
Past our pay grade.
I just say that Paul, it's time for Paul to get an iPhone, but I've been saying that since I met him.
Yeah, I think everybody
Might be time. It might be.
in my purview has an iPhone. I'm the lone Android cowboy. All right, so
I think
as we've went through, like this discussion, and the second part was real help or industry hype. I think the goal of displaying that a lot of the technology is real help. TradeTap will connect you, give you credentials in a way that you've never been able to communicate with your customer. Measure Square can reduce the amount of time you spend on a takeoff by multitudes of time. So it's very helpful. It's really about adoption. It's really about using this stuff. And I know you wanted to touch on that, James. I wanted to give you a chance, kind of from your guys' side. Uh, you guys have grown tremendously since we started using Measure Square, and a lot of that is a lot. It takes a little bit of time. I forget what they call that, but there's a time in the market kind of saying. I can't remember what it's called, but essentially, if you stay in the market long enough, you'll find your clan. And there's been a lot of great softwares out there that didn't last long enough for that to happen. I can tell you from TradeTap's side, I mean, for the first 4 years, 5 years, it was like battling to get anybody to open their mind to a new way of doing business. And now it's more of keeping up with our user base and trying to keep up than
Trying to make all of us happy.
Yeah, it's like, so that adoption curve, I guess, how did that look for you guys in your history? You've been around a long time. I know we've used you for at least 10 years, if not longer. Um, how long have you been with the
Yeah,
firm
yeah.
again, James?
So I've only been here about 3 years, but I know the history. I can give you
Yeah,
guys a rundown.
yeah.
Um, yeah, Stephen, our CEO, he founded the company around 2000, so almost 25 years now. And at first, they were actually focused on retail flooring. His wife was a carpet saleswoman, and he just, he was just got his PhD in computer science. He was doing some programming, and he actually took on the problem of, let me figure out how to solve rolled goods in a piece of software. So he built the system that rolls out carpet and does the seaming. It's all by himself. So then they were focused on retail, residential flooring for a while, and then about 12, 13 years ago is when they realized that we're really good at these small details that are actually more prevalent in commercial. So they switched over, so the head architect for Measure Square, the takeoff software, was actually, before he was a software engineer, he was a civil engineer. So he knows like a lot of the details with like how all that stuff fits together, and just building in general. So yeah, they landed on commercial. That was our primary focus for a while, which is kind of where it started ramping up, I think around 10 years ago. And then the past 5 years in particular, it's been pretty exponential after we got a customer base with Measure, the desktop and the mobile side. So definitely really consistent growth over these past 5 years in particular.
That's
So
awesome.
touching on that,
Yeah.
my brother says he needs to figure out how to do carpet base out of roll broadloom now.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
And he does have a couple of things that he commented. I'm gonna go through them real quick. He said Android Surface Pro, can he use the desktop version on that and walk around like a tablet? And I know you guys have the laser on there too, so I imagine you can.
You can with the Surface Pro. I have heard about this before, but I'm not an expert. I would have to talk to my support team, but it is
And then
capable.
this is for both of you guys. He says that Measure Square and TradeTap need to partner up, and so that way there's a training so we can up our VTI.
Great training program.
I think that sounds pretty good.
So
I I think we could talk about it, Paul. We're working on some stuff similar to that, and that could definitely make sense.
Yeah, we'll exchange contact after this and see what we can do around the installer. That's our primary role in this whole industry, is cataloging, credentializing installers, and then giving companies and the marketplace in general an easy way to connect with them and then track the project that they're doing with them. So yeah, I'll share a little more in depth on that with you
because
offline here.
once you
But
get
yeah,
that,
we'll
then
get
you can
somewhere
talk
there, Jose.
to Hothead, because he says that he's used Measure Square for rooms, but it really doesn't work for the staircases because he's primarily high end staircases now, where he's not doing wall to wall. So I don't know how. I'm not gonna lie, it is
Yeah,
pretty limited on the stairs, but
yeah, stairs are a tough issue to solve well. So especially from the mobile version, it's going to be tough to do a custom
yeah.
staircase.
And he said, of course,
Yeah,
Measure
especially the
Square
type that Jorge's
that Jorge
doing.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
The training could be a part of the installer progression to hopefully get off their knees one day. And because that's
Yeah.
what we keep on pushing, here at Preferred Flooring. It's like, learn what you can now, so that way, if I know installers that it's like they blew out their knee, they cannot install anymore. So if that ever happens, you already have some knowledge somewhere else.
Yeah, we've talked
Absolutely.
about that on the Huddle a lot, and I've got to say that it's been a consistent message from us to installers is, obviously we want you guys trained on hand skills and knowledge about adhesives and substrates and moisture and installation techniques and tools and equipment and logistics, all the stuff it takes to be a good installer. On the other side of that, we want you to get used to using and be brave in using software, because just like Daniel mentioned, you blow your knee out one time. We had an installer that just had to have surgery on his knee. He was out for 8 weeks. Well, we put him to work here in the office. We put him on light duty, takeoffs, doing safety stuff, because when stuff happens, having your mind to fall back on if your body starts to give up on you is a great thing to have. And you can go in, an installer that's not scared of technology, and that not only not scared, but maybe is proficient in it. Man, they are a high commodity for us. I will hire them every day as long as they got a great attitude. And I have found, just as a note, that the ones who are willing to explore in technology seem to have a better attitude. They're not so gruffy about what the future holds, So those guys are in high demand, is what I'm getting at. At my flooring company, I would hire an installer that understands technology and is not scared of it, long before I'd hire like a computer scientist that I have to teach flooring. Having somebody that can just kind of step into your office and use your software, or at least learn to use your software, that has some flooring background, that's incredibly attractive to flooring companies. And guys, there's 30,000 of us in the United States, so there's plenty of opportunity to go get a job if you overcome that, if you do have the fear, and you overcome that and just use the software. It ain't gonna bite you. All right. Well, we have zoomed right up on our deadline of 4 o'clock here. I want to thank James with Measure Square for joining us, specifically the CRM solution side. Great piece of software over there. If you have a chance to try some stuff out, James just gave you the insight. Free trials, go give it a shot. Reach out to support, see if you do have any issues, and give it a shot. So QR code's up on the screen. Make sure to click that. Go give it a trial run. See if it works for your business. That's a good thing. With these free trials, you just go try it. If it doesn't work for your business, no harm, no foul. If it does work, you can save yourself a lot of money and time, and create yourself almost cover a whole nother job. That's what software's job is today, is to like take you guys from having to do everything. Let the software do some of that. So Nick says Measure Square can be used in practical ways for nicer stairs. I would say less installation. Yeah, so he's saying you can use it on stairs if you are diligent. Not super practical for the
Absolutely.
installer, but yeah. So just as we close out, if you catch us on YouTube, give us a subscribe and a like and comment on there, whatever platform you're watching us on, whether you're watching us live or you're watching us on one of the other streams. Make sure to give us some love. We appreciate it. That's why we're here every single week, every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central, to try to feed you guys with great interviews like this with James and, help you out in your business. And we still got comments coming in, guys, but we do have to close this thing out. Appreciate all the comments. Really appreciate the engagement, guys. And James, thank you so much for your time today. We really enjoyed the conversation and getting to know you a little bit better.
We could do this every week.
My pleasure, really. Yeah, let's do it every week. I'm in.
We probably do need to have a more consistent cadence around technology. Thank you, Ben.
For me.
Appreciate it, guys. And hang in there, James. And for our audience, we will catch